So I'm trying to get this blog together, but I'm just all rewriting it all over. You know, I rewrote it. And the thing is, I was focusing on this technical aspect. How the grammatical structure of progress, more than its definition according to us at the moment, and of liberty, they add together with the concept that for any group of people, with n people in it, that there's, you know, n different ways of thinking, and some formalism for that to remember, and abstract voting as a process that's an operation on these n ways of thinking. And it's all very technical, and I've thought about it for years, and I think it's very useful. But I was realizing as I read some of the stuff that, you know, maybe this is an area where I'll go ahead and use my communication skills. Instead of just saying something and going, oh, I know people will get that wrong, won't those be funny comments? I'll go like, well, maybe I'll put it a little different. You know, I use my internet communication a lot like, you know, Citizen Band Radio, you know, and it's conversational, but I do know how to work on something and make it more finished work, and I think that's the direction I'm going with the blog. It's not really a log, it's more like I'm recording things there, you know, like maybe probably I won't just blog on this subject, I will keep editing this blog that describes the system, and what I'm reworking it to go into at first, instead of directly into the symbolism and stuff, which might not be clear why I've designed the system or why it's good, it works the way it does. You know, I could just argue it works a certain way, but if you don't know why I'm going for that, what's the point? And I'm focusing on this concept of necessary cooperation. You know, how much cooperation is necessary? I do think it's pretty self-evident. We can abstractly argue about it, but, you know, we should cooperate on things like, you know, not killing other humans, or for that matter, more arbitrary, not defecating on sidewalks. You can imagine a society where you're supposed to defecate on this. That's where they want you to. They're ready for it. But that's not the society we're in. So I think there's some necessary cooperation. On the other hand, I think there's a lot of a hang-up about sharing and a misunderstanding between to share an amount of something that's already come into your possession justly versus being part of a system where stuff is shared naturally. Like, for example, air, because of its chemical nature more than anything else, is shared naturally. When we talk about our need to cooperate about sharing the air, it's not that we have to do the sharing, it happens automatically. It's that we don't pollute other people's air because it's automatically shared. So nobody's asked to share the air. Hey, you got a breath full of air, give us half of it. No, it's just a matter of, okay, there's certain behavior where we need to cooperate to keep this natural system of distribution viable, right? We don't want people to be getting poisonous doses of their share of the air. And what we're trying to do with other less naturally distributed resources, like take lumber, which is all over the place, but it's more concentrated than air, you know, we can design systems that redistribute this in you know, so that the people that need it can go ahead and figure out what they have to do to acquire it. And instead of a redistribution, you have a decent, reasonable distribution in the first place. And I think this issue about what is the necessary cooperation, we need to take it into action space, away from all of the wealth distribution, you know, away from the metaphors where we calculate amounts as if it was static, and put it back into a system analysis, right? I think it could be controversial if there even is such a thing as necessary cooperation. I think some people will go, no, you can't be made to cooperate, you know. No, but I believe there is such a category, and things like you can't kill other people, you have to cooperate with the laws against murder, right? And so I think there is something, and the question is, well, obviously the actions a person can be made to consider necessary as a necessary cooperation are limited. You know, you can't be expected to give your life, you can't be expected to stay alive, you know, you can't be expected to have sex with somebody. I mean, there's certain things that for your individual liberty can't be a part of this set. And as a libertarian philosophy, yeah, we're going to minimalize. The optimization is the minimal optimization. You know, what's the least we can require of people? There might be more that we hope they do. Optimal cooperation, you know, voluntary things. But in terms of what's necessary, we need to figure out what kind of actions fall under that. And so I'm sort of reframing it around that question, because I think that's a better indication of where I'm really coming from if I went back years before I started to formalize this system. Then on top of that, my version of progressive libertarianism, I use progress and liberty. Progress is how you do the navigation of what you want to do as a group. Liberty is how you secure rights. It's where you get your concept that you derive your secured rights from. And then the notation of ways of thinking T and T sub I, actions A and individual actions A sub I and things like this are to help remember that we've got a big set of ways of thinking which contains contradictions, and that what we're trying to do is create operations which in the real world will involve voting and people speaking for themselves, but in the abstract can be thought of with mathematical metaphors. So we can think of other ways to tally votes, for example. I mean, because right now we have winner takes all multiple choice. I or V is better than that. And in the hypothetical area, we have just ideas where, what if somehow you just expressed yourself? That's what we want, you to be able to express yourself, and everybody expressing their opinion as actions, comes together to the whole action. That's what we ideally like. We don't want to have to give you a multiple choice question and have people decide that way. It's just that mathematically, that's the algorithm and the method. So we have an abstraction to talk about this general issue of taking a set of ways of thinking T in a group, which consists of T sub I for I equals 1 to n, and ways of combining that. There's autocratic ways, there's what we consider traditional democracy, and there's a lot of other ways to decide actions. So what I had done is I read it, and I edited it while I read it. It ended up being 45 minutes. I tried to upload it. It failed. You're lucky. I enjoyed that process, and then I went to edit it again, read it again. I want to edit it a lot. I'm going to cut and paste and chop this thing, totally refactor it. And now I'm in the middle of that process, and I thought, I'll discuss my thinking, I think, as I go and write these things, which once they're done, I hope to be an essay that's like, oh yeah, there you go. That introduced you to the idea. So, yeah.